The studio lights of the View glittered across the polished floor as the audience clapped wildly. Blake Shelton walked onto the stage with his signature confidence, cowboy boots clicking with each step. Joy Behar gave a tight smile, not her usual playful grin, but one hiding sharp curiosity. The segment was meant to be lighthearted. Blake had come to promote his new music and upcoming tour. But the atmosphere was already strained. As Blake settled into his seat, Joy leaned forward, tapping her note cards. "So, Blake," she began, "a lot of people are wondering how someone with your, let's say strong opinions, fits into today's changing America." The audience quieted. Blake's smile faded just slightly. "Well, Joy," Blake replied calmly, "last time I checked, having an opinion wasn't a crime." A few chuckles broke out from the audience, but Joy didn't laugh. Her eyes sharpened. "Sure, opinions are fine," she said, "but when those opinions influence millions, don't you think you should be a little more responsible with your words?" Blake shifted in his chair, shoulders tensing. "I am responsible," he said firmly. "I speak from the heart." Maybe that's something people actually appreciate instead of being told what to think. The tension had now become visible. The co-hosts exchanged glances. Producers behind the cameras started whispering into headsets. The audience sensed it. This wasn't going to be an ordinary interview. Something was building, and everyone could feel the spark that was about to ignite. Joy crossed her arms, refusing to break eye contact. "Speaking from the heart is one thing," she said, "but dismissing people who disagree with you isn't honesty, it's arrogance." The audience gasped softly. Blake leaned forward, his eyes narrowing, not in anger, but in steady resolve. Blake offered a measured reply. "I don't dismiss anyone. I come from a place where people work hard, speak plain, and don't hide behind fancy words. If that offends you, maybe the problem isn't me." The crowd erupted, half cheering, half murmuring in shock. Joy raised a hand to quiet them. "This isn't about offense," she insisted. "It's about accountability." Blake chuckled under his breath. "Accountability? Joy, I've been accountable every day of my life. My audience knows who I am. They trust me to be real, not polished for TV." The air crackled. A co-host tried to mediate, but neither Joy nor Blake acknowledged her. Producers were now visibly concerned. A red light blinked, signaling a break, but Joy pressed on, ignoring them. "So are you saying the media, people like me, are fake?" she challenged. Blake didn't hesitate. "I'm saying the media sometimes forgets the people it's supposed to represent." The audience went silent. It was no longer an interview, it was a showdown. When the show returned from break, the energy had completely changed. The audience leaned forward, captivated. Joy's tone was sharper than ever. "Blake, you act like you're the voice of the people," she said, "but who made you the spokesperson for America?" Blake rested his hands calmly on his knees. "Nobody made me anything. People relate to me because I don't judge them. I don't talk down to them." Joy smirked. "Is that your way of saying I judge people?" Blake paused. The silence itself carried weight. Finally, he replied softly, "Sometimes, yes." A ripple spread across the audience. Some applauded, others gasped. One co-host placed her hand over her mouth in disbelief. Joy's face flushed, not with embarrassment, but challenge. She leaned in, eyes blazing. "Let me tell you something, Blake," she said slowly, "this show has hosted presidents, world leaders, and icons. None of them have accused us of looking down on people." Blake responded, "Maybe none of them were honest enough to say it out loud." The crowd broke into thunderous noise, half cheering Blake's daring words, half booing in defense of Joy. Security moved discreetly to the stage edge. What had begun as a promotional appearance had turned into national drama, unfolding in real time. Joy turned in her chair, facing the audience directly. "If this is the kind of rhetoric you're promoting, Blake, maybe you should rethink your platform." Her tone carried finality, an attempt to reclaim control. But Blake wasn't intimidated. He stood up slowly, the tension in the room reaching its limit. "Maybe I should," he said, "but I won't rethink who I am. And I won't apologize for loving the people who built this country, real people. Hard-working people." Joy stood too. The audience was now on their feet, unsure whether to applaud or intervene. Camera operators zoomed in. The director's frantic voice shouted through the headset, "Cut segments. Cut cameras." But it was too late. Joy pointed toward the exit. "Then maybe this interview is over." Blake nodded. "Maybe it is." With calm composure, he removed his microphone and placed it on the table. For a moment, the studio was completely still. No one expected what happened next. As Blake turned to leave, the audience erupted, not in boos, but in applause. Loud, thunderous clapping filled the room. It wasn't just support, it was a statement. Joy looked stunned. Blake walked off the stage with a steady stride, not looking back. The studio was in a frenzy. Joy sat back down abruptly, trying to regain control of the live broadcast, but the audience refused to settle. Some chanted his name, others argued loudly among themselves. One co-host whispered, "This will go viral in minutes." Backstage, producers surrounded Blake, pleading with him to return, but he only shook his head. "I said what I came to say." He walked out the studio doors, greeted by fans waiting outside who had heard the commotion from the street. Meanwhile, online platforms exploded. Clips of Blake standing up to Joy spread rapidly. Headlines appeared within minutes. Blake Shelton walks off. The View, live, studio erupts. Joy Behar shaken after on-air clash. Fans demand Blake Shelton host his own talk show. Back on set, Joy attempted to continue the show, but the energy was shattered. Viewers across the nation were divided. Yet one thing was certain, television had just witnessed a moment it would never forget. And as Blake stepped into his black SUV and drove away, his phone lit up with messages, not of outrage but of overwhelming support. Whatever battle had begun that day, he had already won the hearts of millions.